Hi, this is Clayton Jarvinen. Today I'm going to try something new, and that is to read from a post that I've written, and then afterwards I'm going to give a little explanation about it so there's more of an understanding about the context and about the point of view where this is coming from. Um, so, is your self, is your, start again? Is your system of governance in alignment with your faith or your philosophy? What teachings or standards guide your moral structure? Are your thoughts and actions in alignment with your philosophical viewpoint on life? Even if one is not a philosopher by trade, if you have a thought about life, you have a philosophical viewpoint. Do you live in integrity with that, or do you look outside and react to a world that's not in alignment with your philosophy? My philosophy is that the world is perfect. Nothing needs to be fixed. Now let's be clear, it does not mean it's always preferable. It's just perfect. If it wasn't, it would be a chaos instead of a cosmos. Things would fall apart and not get rebuilt. There would be no structure holding this universe together. When I go inside of myself and take a big view from the heavens, I can see the perfection in all that's occurring. When I look out from my body's eyes and I believe that that is reality, all I see is the tiniest fraction of a sliver of history. When I go into the heavens, the perfection reveals itself. Humanity is on a crash course with discovering that the source of security, abundance, and meaning is not in the hands of some small minority of hoarders. All of the displaced refugees, angry political activists, disenfranchised and sickly citizens, even those wealthy hoarders, are on a course of realizing that the power given to something outside of oneself is the false idols Christianity talks about, not some stone statue or other religion's God. Deep inside of each individual is the missing link to the source of creation. In time, the search seems to take forever. But when it's found, timelessness just makes sense. Eternity doesn't have to have a harsh ring to it when the only time is now. Embedded within the body, the souls communicate with radiant, loving energy. Even when the bodies crudely shout words of hate and anger, they have only forgotten that they are not their bodies. Their souls are relearning who they are. Surface appearance is only the appearance. It's not the real thing. So these are some thoughts that I had put together after watching a documentary about the refugee crisis. I was watching that with my girlfriend the other night, and after discussing our different takes on it, whether they're the same or different, we had discussing our viewpoints and experience of watching it. I found that mine was very joyful watching this otherwise seemingly tragic situation. And I couldn't help but feel excitement and feel this pleasure, not because of someone's misery, but because of experiences that I've had that have shaped and informed my view. And so I'll share a quick story. Years ago, maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago or something, I was going to meet my friend Arthi at a local bar for a beer. And this is on Morris Avenue, the northeast side of Chicago. And on this particular day, it was shortly after I'd returned from a long meditation retreat, so my mind was pretty still, very receptive to subtle impressions from the world. And I was walking down Morris Avenue. It's not a really good street. Well, I guess it's better now, but at the time it was still not a great street. And I came across a couple arguing. And now they were shouting pretty loudly at each other, raising their arms really close, just face to face, just angry words of hatred, accusations. And I had this moment where I saw their etheric being overlaid over their physical bodies. And so there was this brilliant, translucent, angelic body over both of them. It's like a Photoshop filter when you take the opacity down to say 70 or 80%, and it was just overlaid over their bodies. So while their physical bodies are crudely shouting and angry and they're confused, these etheric bodies were radiating this extremely powerful, loving energy. Their lips weren't moving. There was nothing going on other than this communication going on from the heart. And I had witnessed this and had this really complete understanding about how crudely our words are, and how crude our words are, and how clumsy we go about physically communicating with these learned languages, all of these conditions set in place of our whole history, while deep inside there is this spirit body that is just constantly radiating its awareness and its love and connection with the world. And but as we identify with our bodies, as we identify as an individual, when I sit here and I say, okay, my body is the real me and this is it, I'm going to feel separate from the world. And so I have to go through these clumsy mechanisms of communicating to extract value from the world. And when I saw this, it just cleared so many things up for me, and I understood that this whole path of life is we're learning to communicate this with love, and it's really fucking clumsy sometimes, and unfortunate. And so when I see, say, these mass swaths of refugees, when I see someone in peril, let's say, I've noticed from going through my own experiences, but I tell one of my friends that I relish in my friend's suffering, because I know that on the other side of that suffering is the possibility of realizing something. And it's when we place those false idols, when we place value on something that is outside of oneself. So when we say the politician has power over me to affect my happiness and my well-being, when I believe that, when I believe that the amount of money I have provides for my security, as for my existence, when I believe that somebody else is a threat, the world shows us that. It creates a scenario that validates that, as an unbiased, non-objective, well, it would be a non-biased reflection. I don't know if it would be objective or not objective. I gotta clarify that. But it's basically this unbiased reflection showing back all of me at any given point in time. And when you have all these separate aspects of consciousness, everything in the world lines up to a perfect precipice for who's ever involved. The conditions set in place are an absolute perfect reflection, and it happens all over the globe. And so when I see these mass transitions of bodies that move looking for a new home, or looking for, when they seem lost, I get excited, because that means there's a possibility that a massive amount of people are going to realize that their source of power, their source of abundance, their source of freedom does not lie in the hands of a couple politicians. It does not lie in the hands of the bankers. It does not lie in the hands of anybody else. And what happens is, when you claim that, when you come into yourself and claim that, is the world reflects that back, and you get taken care of. All the traumatic memories get recontextualized in the thought system automatically, without needing to go to a therapist that just rehashes old stories that are based on untruths. So I enjoy seeing this stuff happen, because eventually we get tired of struggling, we get tired of trying to achieve, or trying to prove ourselves, or trying to fight for survival. And eventually, on the course of evolution, the person that experiences themselves as an individual will get tired of that, and then have an honest search for what is true. And when they do that, in order to do that, one has to take a real honest self-assessment, a self-evaluation, which means you're beginning the process of going inside of yourself. And when you do that, something happens. Something happens. It's when we're relating to this outside world as a solid physical sense of reality, and as taking what I see with my body's eyes as the present moment, I live in deception and ignorance, because all this is reflecting the past. even if it's a split-second pass, by the time it gets into my brain and processed from my brain, it has all the layers of conditions, of learned behaviors, of mechanical movements that have been taking on through eons, and all that's overlaid over the instant, the moment where I open my eyes and look out. There's a 10,000th of a second between reality and what perception sees. And in that 10,000th of a second is the 10,000 layers that overlay and color your interpretation of the cosmos. So when I go inside of myself, and so it said when I go inside and go in, take the big view from the heavens, what happens is that there's a discovery that every cell in the body radiates this awareness of the universe. And if you go deep enough inside, every single cell, every single atom has all of the information from the entire history of the universe. And so it's my ability to quiet my mind and go into my source. And when I do that, I realize all of these things, the political turmoil, the global crises that occur, all the threats, the potential threats, they're all illusions. They're all illusions, and they feed into a cycle of fear. They feed into a cycle of self-sabotage. They feed into a cycle of this perpetual roller coaster ride of chasing the ups only to fall down. And so this idea that the body is the universe is a challenging thing to comprehend, because it's not an intellectual construct, and the intellect can only be it can only know what's been trained, conditioned, and learned. The intellect cannot learn anything novel, and so it can't understand an experience. It can't fully understand an experience, and this experience of the body being the universe is when everything becomes synchronized. The breath, the mind, and the vibrations of the universe become synchronized. The identity with the body goes away, and this body expands, and it holds all of creation. And you have complete awareness of all of it from a completely different level than the body identified sense of being. So I'll invite you to sit quietly. I will do some guided meditation coming up shortly. And what this starts to do is actually just get a reprieve from the busyness of the day, but it also gets you in touch with yourself. And a lot of times when we're not willing to do it, we are either scared because we think there's something fundamentally wrong or bad that we'll have to see. That might be true, that a lot of stuff comes up that we don't want to see. The only thing is that when it comes up, you've seen it. You're not hiding from anything anymore. And then all of a sudden, when you're not hiding from it, it goes away. It shows you something different. It reshapes itself. And so I would look forward to sharing this time and space with whoever's interested, to sit quietly, get in touch with the breath, become familiar with habitual thoughts, not get stuck on them. Let the mind flow. Let the mind come, let it go, with no pressure. And then we'll see what arises. continue on and deepen the practice. Namaste.